Hey guys, tonight we're delving into the opulent, somewhat twisted world of Roman emperors, where power, luxury, and poison intertwine in the most fragrant of ways. Picture this: a royal banquet, the sweet, heady aroma of incense and perfume filling the air, masking a much darker secret. Roman emperors, known for their excessive lifestyles, luxury, and absolute power, often used perfume not just to smell divine, but to carry out the most discreet and deadly of deeds. You probably won't survive this ancient strategy, but trust me, it's a journey worth taking. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're watching from tonight and what time it is. Drop a comment below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. In the ancient world, perfume was more than just a luxury. It was a symbol of status, power, and elegance. The Romans, known for their extravagant lifestyles, used perfume liberally, anointing themselves before meetings, during ceremonies, and even before going to bed. But what if I told you that within these sweet-smelling concoctions, emperors and courtiers often concealed something far more dangerous: poison? It wasn't just the beautiful scents of roses and jasmine that were wafting through the imperial halls, but also the subtle whispers of death. For instance, Emperor Nero, known for his extravagant banquets, was rumored to have used poisoned perfume to eliminate his enemies. You see, Romans had an obsession with power, and with power came the desire to control life and death. In this world, assassinations were not always loud and bloody. Sometimes they were quiet, invisible, and deadly in the most refined of ways. Poison was used with discretion, often hidden in drinks, food, or most chillingly in perfumes. Imagine the most elegant banquet, where an emperor might invite a rival or a troublesome official, and then hand them a beautifully crafted vial of perfume. The scent was intoxicating, luxurious, irresistible, and within it, the silent sting of poison. Roman emperors, with their love for both grandeur and secrecy, had long realized that appearances could be deceiving. Their world was one of constant intrigue, backstabbing, and political manipulation. No one could be trusted, and as emperors ruled over vast empires, their lives were often at risk from those who sought to undermine or topple them. In such a dangerous environment, the art of assassination had to be both strategic and discreet. Poison, especially when hidden within a simple vial of perfume, was the perfect tool. Historians still argue whether poison was the most frequent method of assassination in Roman times. Still, one thing is sure: the connection between perfume and poison is deeply rooted in Roman history. Perfume, used in the most sacred rituals, was a perfect cover for a deadly plot. In a society where scent was woven into the fabric of daily life, where a well-scented entrance could elevate someone's status or charm, perfumed poison was an insidious way to carry out a lethal attack without suspicion. As you can imagine, the use of perfume was a serious business in Rome. It was a crucial part of daily life, and wealthy Romans often owned private perfumers or unguentarii to craft their signature scents. These master perfumers were highly skilled, blending oils and fragrances that could last for hours, leaving their mark on everything they touched. However, as the empire became increasingly unstable politically, these perfumed concoctions took on a darker meaning. The ability to conceal poison in something as innocent as a fragrance was not just a means of assassination. It was an expression of power, control, and ultimately, fear. The practice of using perfume to mask poison wasn't as simple as just mixing a deadly substance with a pleasant smell. Perfume in ancient Rome was an art form, and blending these substances required precision. It wasn't uncommon for the most potent poisons of the time, such as aconite or hemlock, to be infused into the delicate scents that emperors and their courtiers would wear or use. These poisons were odorless and tasteless on their own, making them ideal candidates to be hidden within a carefully crafted fragrance. The process of blending these poisons into the perfumes was a delicate and secretive art, known only to a select few. Perfume makers didn't just make scents to please the nose, they were also working on secret formulas that could be deadly in the right hands. The role of the perfumer was, in many ways, as important as the role of a physician. Some of the most famous perfumers in Roman history were rumored to have been called upon not only to create luxurious fragrances but to assist in these darker acts of political maneuvering. Their hands held the power of life and death, their creations a deadly secret. Now, think about it. A vial of perfume so elegant and straightforward, yet it holds the power to change the course of Roman history. The juxtaposition of beauty and death is what makes this practice so fascinating. Romans used perfume to signal status, to gain favor, and to exert control over others, but the scent also held the potential for something far more sinister. The very act of applying perfume could be a matter of life and death. This historical practice raises interesting questions about the power dynamics of scent and the potential for misuse in our modern society. What's even more chilling is that the victims of these perfumed poisons were often unaware of the danger. The slow onset of poisoning, usually taking hours or even days to manifest fully, allowed the murderer to maintain a level of plausible deniability. After all, how could anyone suspect a beautiful fragrance of being the cause of death? It was as if the victim had been embraced by death's gentle touch, without ever knowing the peril they were in. This wasn't just confined to the emperors themselves, either. Poison perfume was a tool that trickled down through Roman society. Senators, high-ranking officials, and even wealthy citizens used perfume in their daily lives, and the threat of a deadly scent lingered in the air. Historians still debate how widespread the use of poison perfume was. Some argue that it was a rare and highly specialized tool. In contrast, others believe it was more common, especially among those vying for power in Rome's brutal political environment. But this isn't a tale of just death and intrigue. The perfume itself, the art of its creation, its symbolism, and its use in rituals, was deeply ingrained in Roman culture. Romans believed that scent could influence everything from emotions to physical health, and they used it in their religious ceremonies, daily routines, and even as a form of personal hygiene. The very act of creating a perfume was considered almost sacred, and so it's no surprise that the art of poison became so deeply embedded in it. So now that we've set the stage for our story, it's time to dig deeper. In the next section, we'll explore how the art of perfumery became not just an indulgence but a powerful tool in the hands of emperors and political manipulators. How did these master perfumers become the unsung architects of political assassinations, and what made their creations so lethal? Get ready, because the journey is just about to begin. Now that we've set the stage, let's delve deeper into the awe-inspiring role of scent in ancient Rome. The use of perfume wasn't just a matter of vanity or luxury. It was an essential part of Roman life, woven into almost every aspect of their existence. Picture yourself in a grand Roman villa, where the air is thick with the scents of incense, herbs, and exotic oils. As you step into the room, your senses are overwhelmed with the sweet fragrance of lavender, rose, and sandalwood. The Romans, with their love for the extravagant, understood the power of scent long before it became a symbol of luxury in the modern world. Roman citizens would wear perfumes, known as unguentum, to mask the natural body odor that came with the heat and hard work of daily life. You might think that showering would be a natural remedy, but baths were an entirely different ritual in Roman society. Bathhouses were places of socializing, and while bathing was common, Romans didn't always consider it enough for personal hygiene. That's where perfumes came in. They weren't just for the wealthy elite. They were part of everyday life for everyone. It wasn't just about smelling nice. It was about maintaining one's social status, and for the wealthy, this was taken to the extreme. However, here's the catch. Perfumes in ancient Rome weren't created solely for personal enjoyment. The Romans believed that scent had the power to influence moods, influence social situations, and even alter one's fate. Some perfumes were thought to be so powerful that they could ward off evil spirits or ensure good fortune in battle. Emperors, in particular, believed that scent played a role in their divine connection to the gods. Wearing certain fragrances was seen as a way to align oneself with divine favor, ensuring one's reign was blessed and prosperous. Historians argue whether the religious significance of perfumes was truly as widespread as it's often portrayed. Some suggest that it was more about the practical uses of scent, masking unpleasant odors or simply showcasing wealth. Others, however, argue that the cultural and religious significance of scent was deeply ingrained in Roman society, especially within the imperial court. If you were an emperor, what better way to declare your power and divine favor than by wearing the most intoxicating, expensive fragrance available? Perfume in the Roman Empire was not just about personal use. It was a key element in every ritual, from religious ceremonies to public events. Imagine the grand processions through the streets of Rome, where the air was filled with the scent of exotic spices, oils, and resins. These scents were carefully chosen to convey an image of absolute grandeur and divine favor, creating a sensory spectacle designed to impress and intimidate. In these moments, every breath you took was part of the carefully calculated immersion in the world of imperial power. Perfume was not just a personal adornment in ancient Rome. It was a tool for socializing and entertaining. Romans often used perfume during banquets, when they entertained guests, and even when making public appearances. The more exotic and expensive your perfume, the higher your status. Your scent was like an extension of your personality, a way to project your wealth, sophistication, and connection to the divine. The fragrance itself was part of the performance. The scent was just as important as the clothes you wore, the food you served, and the people you associated with. But for all the glamour, perfume in ancient Rome wasn't just for the elite. Lower classes also had their versions of perfume, though not nearly as refined. These perfumes were typically made from simpler ingredients, herbs, flowers, and oils that were more readily available. They might not have had the rich, complex scents of the emperors, but they still served a similar function: to mask odors, to bring comfort, and to show some degree of social status. It's here that the darker side of Roman perfume culture begins to emerge. As perfume became an essential part of life in Rome, it wasn't long before its use became associated with something far more sinister. While emperors were busy using scents to project power and divine favor, others were more focused on how perfume could be used for control of life, death, and reputation. The power of perfume in Roman society was immense, and its connection to death was perhaps the most potent expression of this power. As we move forward, we'll see how those who held the power to create these intoxicating scents also had the power to conceal poison within them, making perfume not just a luxury but a dangerous tool. Imagine a perfumer carefully blending oils and fragrances, unaware that their creations might be used to bring down emperors and rivals alike. But was it possible that the perfumers themselves were complicit in these dark deeds? Historians still debate whether the perfumers were fulfilling orders, unknowingly aiding in poisonings, or if they had their part to play in the deadly politics of Rome. What we do know is that the use of perfume as a cover for poison created a dangerous nexus of beauty, power, and death, one that would come to define the relationship between emperors and the world of scents they inhabited. Now, the concept of using perfume for death wasn't just confined to the emperors and their elite circles. This practice trickled down through Roman society, as lower-ranking individuals, eager to imitate their emperors, began using perfumes for more personal means of control. It's fascinating to consider how something as seemingly innocent as perfume could have been part of a much larger political and social game, one that affected not just the elite but the fabric of Roman life itself. In a way, the use of poisoned perfume symbolized how deeply entwined luxury and danger were in the ancient world. So, let's explore the next layer, the perfumers themselves. Who were these artisans? And how did they navigate the delicate line between creating beautiful fragrances and unknowingly becoming accomplices in political maneuvering? Were they following orders? or were they willing participants in this deadly game? In the next section, we'll explore the world of perfumery and how its craft might have been used for much more than just creating pleasant scents. Their role, much like the perfume they crafted, was often hidden beneath a veil of luxury and beauty, masking a darker reality beneath. As we delve into the world of Roman perfumery, we encounter the unguentarii, the master perfumers who were not just artisans, but creators of the scents that defined Roman society. Their role was not just a job, but a form of artistry that was highly respected. The scents they crafted were believed to possess almost mystical qualities, a testament to their skill in blending the right oils, herbs, and resins into a pleasing fragrance. However, behind this artistry lay a darker truth. These same perfumers were, potentially, the silent architects of death. Picture a bustling workshop in the heart of ancient Rome, where the air is heavy with the scents of rose, frankincense, and myrrh. The unguentarii toiled tirelessly, grinding herbs and mixing oils to create perfumes for the rich and powerful. These perfumes weren't just about luxury. They were about status, power, and divine favor. The finest fragrances were often reserved for the emperor, senators, and the elite. Yet, amid this luxury, the perfumers were also creating something far more dangerous: poisoned perfumes that could kill in silence. Roman perfumers utilized a diverse range of ingredients in their craft, including floral extracts, exotic spices, and oils. Some of the most prized scents originated from the East, where perfumes were often crafted from rare ingredients such as balsam, cedarwood, and sandalwood. But alongside these luxurious scents, there were also less savory ingredients. Poisonous substances, such as hemlock and aconite, were sometimes used in perfumes due to their powerful properties and their ability to remain undetected in the final product. Historians still argue about the extent to which perfumers knew what they were creating. Some suggest that the perfumers were simply following orders, unaware that their fragrances were being used as a cover for political assassination. Others believe that some perfumers were fully aware of the deadly potential of their creations and might even have been complicit in the poisonings. After all, the world of Roman politics was filled with intrigue and betrayal, and the power to create a fragrance that could kill without a trace was an enticing tool for anyone looking to secure power. What's fascinating about the perfumer's role is how it exemplifies the intersection of beauty and death in Roman society. The same hands that crafted sweet-smelling oils also held the power to create deadly weapons. In a way, the perfumer was a silent accomplice, hiding behind the veil of luxury and glamour, unaware, or perhaps not caring, that their creations could be used for far darker purposes. It was a world where the boundaries between art and assassination were blurred, where one could enjoy a beautiful fragrance, not knowing that it was masking a lethal intention. But not all perfumers were involved in the darker side of their craft. Many were simply artisans, creating beautiful fragrances for those who could afford them. The majority of Roman citizens used perfumes for personal hygiene, to mask body odors, or to enhance their social standing. However, even these more innocent uses of perfume were often rooted in a desire for power and status. In a society where appearances were everything, the right scent could elevate someone from an ordinary citizen to someone worthy of attention and respect. The creation of perfumes also played a role in Roman religious and cultural practices. Perfume was used in religious rituals to honor the gods, and some scents were believed to carry divine properties. The Romans often burned incense as an offering to the gods, and certain perfumes were used in temples and during festivals to ensure divine favor. Perfumed oils were also applied during sacrifices, with the scent believed to carry prayers to the heavens. In this sense, the act of perfuming was not just a means of beautification, it was a form of communication with the divine. But with all this beauty and mysticism, the darker side of Roman perfumery was never far behind. As the empire expanded and emperors became increasingly paranoid about threats to their rule, the demand for poisons and clandestine methods of elimination increased. Perfume, once a symbol of divine connection and luxury, became a tool for those seeking to eliminate rivals, enemies, or even family members. The same ingredients used to create a regal fragrance could be employed to craft a scent that would slowly bring about death. By now, you're probably wondering how exactly this perfumed poison was used to execute these secretive political moves. How did someone, perhaps in a crowded banquet hall, apply perfume to a rival, only to see them die in the hours or days that followed? The method of delivery was as important as the poison itself. Often, the victim would be unaware of the threat, as the perfume would be applied in such a way that it appeared entirely innocent. The poison was typically odorless and tasteless, ensuring that it wouldn't ruin the fragrance. By the time the poison took effect, it was too late for the victim to resist. Death would arrive silently, almost imperceptibly, masked by the scent of flowers and spices. One famous case of perfumed poison involves the notorious Empress Agrippina the Younger, who was suspected of using poison to eliminate her rivals. Although there's still much debate about the accuracy of these stories, historians agree that Agrippina was no stranger to using poison as a tool for power. Her relationship with her son, Emperor Nero, was fraught with tension, and it is believed that she may have even poisoned some of his enemies to help him secure his position on the throne. Whether or not perfumed poison was involved is unclear, but the association between perfume and death was undoubtedly present in her court. The world of Roman perfumers wasn't just about creating luxury, it was about building control. The ability to craft a scent that could mask death was a powerful tool in an era when a single whisper, a quiet gesture, or a single drop of perfume often decided life and death. These perfumers may not have known the full extent of the power they wielded, but their creations played a significant role in shaping the fate of emperors, senators, and citizens alike. In the next section, we'll take a closer look at how some of Rome's most infamous emperors used perfume not just for luxury, but as a tool for control and elimination. What role did these perfumes play in the political landscape of ancient Rome? And how did emperors like Nero and Caligula use scent as a silent weapon? Stay tuned. As we delve deeper into the world of perfumed poison, it's time to closely examine the cunning emperors who wielded this deadly art as both a tool of luxury and assassination. Emperors like Nero and Caligula, as well as others in Rome's history, were not just interested in perfume for its pleasant scents or divine associations. They were strategic in using it as a covert weapon to eliminate rivals, solidify their power, and ensure their survival in a cutthroat political environment. The Roman court was a place of constant scheming, betrayal, and, as we'll soon see, perfumed poison was the perfect silent partner in this deadly dance. Let's start with the notorious Emperor Nero. Nero, infamous for his cruelty and paranoia, ruled Rome from 54 to 68 CE, a period marked by political instability and the decline of the Roman Empire. It's widely believed that his reign was one of betrayal, intrigue, and outright murder. While many of his crimes are documented, ranging from the executions of family members to the infamous burning of Rome, Nero was also known to be a master manipulator when it came to controlling his inner circle. And one of the subtle methods of control that he allegedly used was poison, hidden within the luxurious vials of perfume. Nero's use of perfume was not just for pleasure or religious ceremonies. It was a tool for eliminating threats to his rule. The story goes that Nero's mother, Agrippina, whom he later had killed, may have been a target of poisoned perfume. While the details remain murky, it is said that Agrippina had a lavish bath and was presented with a vial of perfume, which she used liberally. Shortly after, she became gravely ill and died. Many suspect that the perfume she used had been laced with poison. The true story remains lost to time, but the use of perfume in such an intimate and deadly setting paints a chilling picture of how far Roman emperors would go to eliminate even their family members in their quest for power. Nero wasn't the only emperor to use poisoned perfumes as a method of assassination. Caligula, another infamous Roman ruler, is also said to have employed perfume in his ruthless efforts to maintain control. Caligula's reign was marked by erratic behavior, cruelty, and the frequent execution of anyone who threatened his rule, and it is rumored that he relied on perfumes to ensure his enemies' swift deaths. Caligula was renowned for his extravagant lifestyle, frequently hosting lavish feasts where perfume and wine flowed freely. The emperor was particularly paranoid about any attempt to dethrone him, and there were whispers that some of the guests at his banquets, particularly those who displeased him, might have been offered perfumes laced with toxins. Historians debate whether Caligula's use of perfume in his assassination plots was a widespread practice or simply part of his unpredictable and violent reign. Some argue that the Roman court was filled with enough backstabbing and assassination attempts to make such stories plausible. In contrast, others believe these rumors are just exaggerations fueled by the emperor's infamous reputation. Whatever the truth may be, the stories of Caligula and Nero are prime examples of how perfume could be used as a weapon in the political intrigues of ancient Rome. But it wasn't just the emperors who used poisoned perfume to eliminate rivals. The practice extended to the ruling elite, senators, and anyone who sought to maintain or gain power in the imperial court. The Roman Senate, a powerful political body with its complex web of alliances and rivalries, was no stranger to the political use of perfume. Perfume was not just a luxury but a tool of power and control. Senators, constantly aware of the emperor's potential for cruelty, may have seen poison as a way to eliminate a political opponent without raising suspicion. In a world where rumors and whispers held more power than swords, a well-timed gift of perfume could change the course of an individual's life permanently. It wasn't just about how the poison was delivered. It was about how the act of assassination was concealed under the veil of luxury and opulence. Roman society valued its rituals and displays of wealth, and perfume played a pivotal role in these ceremonies. The emperor or senator giving a vial of perfume wasn't just making a political statement. They were engaging in a complex social dance. The scent that filled the room was a testament to their generosity, their power to give, and their ability to control life and death. The recipient, of course, never knew what was coming, and the entire act was carried out most elegantly and discreetly, creating a stark contrast between the beauty of the setting and the sinister nature of the act. One of the most famous cases involving poison and perfume is that of Emperor Augustus, who allegedly poisoned his close advisor, Agrippa Posthumus, with a perfumed potion. Augustus, known for his pragmatism and political acumen, was careful about who he trusted, and his methods of control included both political manipulation and the use of poison. Whether or not the perfume itself played a role in Agrippa's death is uncertain. Still, the possibility that perfume was used to mask the poison, just as it was in the deaths of so many other figures in Roman history, is a telling symbol of how death could be concealed in something so beautiful. So, what made perfume such a perfect vehicle for assassination in ancient Rome? Perfume played a significant role in Roman society, not just for its pleasant scents but also for its symbolic and social significance. It was a common gift, a part of religious ceremonies, and a staple at banquets. This ubiquity and the fact that it was not a weapon made it an ideal tool for assassination. The unsuspecting victim wouldn't think twice about using it, making the process of administering poison nearly impossible to detect. Second, perfumes were often potent and long-lasting. The right combination of oils and spices could cover the scent of the poison, making it almost impossible for the victim to identify the cause of their illness until it was too late, highlighting the subtlety and stealth of the assassination method. In the next section, we'll explore some of the more famous Roman poisonings in detail and investigate how emperors such as Nero, Caligula, and Augustus utilized perfume as a tool of deadly precision. From their most famous acts of assassination to their carefully crafted political moves, we'll uncover how these perfumed poisons played a pivotal role in Roman history and how they came to define an era of political intrigue, fear, and ultimate power. As we continue our exploration of Roman emperors and their use of poisoned perfume, it's time to dive into the famous historical cases where perfume, masked with poison, was used with deadly precision. The stories we've discussed so far have given us a glimpse of how perfumed poison worked as a covert weapon for the Roman elite. Still, now we're going to focus on the most infamous moments in Roman history, where these scented death traps became the tools of emperors, family members, and political manipulators. First, let's revisit the notorious case of Emperor Nero, whose reign was riddled with paranoia and bloodshed. Nero's obsession with control and eliminating threats to his power wasn't just limited to public executions and military conquests. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, played a significant role in his early reign. However, their relationship grew tense as Nero matured and began to view her as a threat to his authority. It's widely believed that Nero, eager to secure his power, plotted his mother's death. While there's debate about how exactly she died, the use of poison perfume is one of the most widely circulated theories. According to ancient accounts, Nero's plan to kill Agrippina was as cunning as it was cruel. He arranged for her to be presented with a vial of perfume, which was laced with poison. Agrippina, unaware of anything, used the perfume as she prepared for a bath, not realizing it would be her last. Shortly afterwards, she fell ill and died. However, the poison was so slow-acting that her death wasn't immediate, and the circumstances surrounding it raised suspicion. The emperor, trying to cover up his role in her death, went to great lengths to convince others that it was a natural death. But as we know, the scent of betrayal lingered in the air. Historians still debate whether Nero's mother was truly poisoned through perfume, as some believe the details surrounding her death may have been exaggerated. Some reports suggest that Agrippina's death was a result of other methods, such as a physical attack or perhaps poisoning in her food. But the theory of perfumed poison persists, as it fits into Nero's pattern of using subtle, deadly methods to eliminate those who posed a threat to his reign. In any case, Agrippina's death is a perfect example of how Roman emperors used poisoned perfume as a means of control, an elegant yet deadly tool hidden behind the veil of beauty. Nero wasn't the only emperor to use poisoned perfume for political manipulation. Caligula, known for his erratic and violent reign, is another emperor whose use of poison, hidden within luxury perfumes, has been widely discussed. Caligula's reign was marked by cruelty, paranoia, and eccentricity. His behavior alienated many, and the fear of death was ever present for those in his inner circle. According to ancient accounts, Caligula hosted lavish feasts and would often offer his guests vials of perfume, sometimes laced with poison, as a way to eliminate those he saw as enemies. One of the most chilling stories about Caligula's use of poison involves his sister, Julia Livilla, who was allegedly executed after being invited to a feast and given a poisoned perfume. Historians debate whether Caligula used perfume to kill Julia Livilla, but this fits the profile of how he treated his enemies. Caligula's reign was filled with whispered rumors of poisonings, and the fact that perfume, something so commonly used, was used as a cover for such deadly intentions speaks to the subtle power of scent in his court. But the use of perfume wasn't limited to emperors and their enemies. It wasn't just rulers who wielded poisoned perfume in ancient Rome. It was also a tool for the elite. Senators and wealthy citizens, keen to protect their position or eliminate rivals, may have used perfumes laced with poison in their power struggles. In a society that prized elegance, luxury, and refinement, a well-crafted bottle of perfume could be a deadly gift, a silent means of eliminating threats without suspicion. The story of one such poisoning involves the Roman senator Domitian, who is believed to have used poisoned perfume as part of a political plot. While many details are lost to history, it's said that Domitian's enemies were often eliminated through subtle, unseen means, and perfume was one of the methods used to carry out these assassinations. This suggests that poisoned perfume wasn't just an emperor's tool. It was a weapon of choice for anyone trying to maintain or secure political power in the volatile world of ancient Rome. As we continue exploring these infamous cases, one thing becomes clear. The use of perfumed poison was not just about killing, it was about control. In a society where life and death were dictated by power and manipulation, perfume became a means of exercising that power. It was a quiet tool, hidden in plain sight, that allowed the Roman elite to manipulate others without ever raising suspicion. And while emperors like Nero and Caligula used it for their survival, the practice of using perfume to control life and death was likely a standard tool among the ruling classes. In the next section, we'll explore the broader implications of poison perfume, examining how it wasn't just a weapon for the elite, but also a practice that permeated Roman society as a whole. How did these practices evolve, and what impact did they have on the legacy of ancient Rome? We'll also examine how historians interpret the role of poison perfume in shaping political dynamics within the empire, and how this practice continues to captivate our imagination today. As we've seen in the previous sections, the use of poison perfume was not limited to emperors and their immediate families. It was a tool wielded by the Roman elite and political manipulators who saw it as the perfect, subtle weapon in a world where survival depended on staying one step ahead of your rivals. But what about the broader implications of this practice? How did it shape the political dynamics of ancient Rome, and what does it reveal about the society at large? In ancient Rome, power was everything. From the emperor down to the ordinary citizen, everyone was aware of how fragile power could be. Roman politics was a game of manipulation, allegiances, and betrayal, a constant source of intrigue and suspense. The emperor's power was often contested by senators, military leaders, and even family members, all of whom sought to either maintain or increase their position within the imperial court. The use of poison perfume became a key part of this ruthless competition. But it wasn't just about the people who wielded it, it was about the system that allowed it to thrive. The Roman Empire was, at its core, a society built on control. Emperors needed to constantly assert their dominance over those around them to maintain their grip on power. Assassination was one method, but rather than relying solely on visible acts of violence, Roman rulers found more discreet, and in some cases more effective, means of eliminating their enemies. Poison, hidden within something as innocuous as a bottle of perfume, allowed those in power to orchestrate death without raising suspicion. A well-timed gift of perfume could be the final act of control over a political rival or a family member who was too ambitious. Historians still argue whether the use of poison perfume was as widespread as ancient sources suggest. Some believe it was a rare and highly specialized form of assassination, reserved for the most elite circles of Roman society. Others think that it was a much more common practice, a tool used across all levels of Roman society as a means of dealing with those perceived as obstacles. While the exact frequency of its use remains unclear, the idea of perfume as a weapon became ingrained in the narrative of Roman power and politics. It's important to note that the use of perfume for assassination was not something that happened in isolation. It was part of a broader tradition of poisonings in ancient Rome, a society where the use of poison was a standard method for eliminating political enemies. This tradition became an accepted part of Roman society's understanding of power dynamics. Emperors like Nero and Caligula, known for their cruelty and paranoia, were just two examples of rulers who relied on poison to maintain control. But it wasn't just the emperors who were involved. Senators, military commanders, and even wealthy citizens were all players in this deadly game. The use of poison in Roman society, particularly in the form of perfumed vials, also reflects the Roman obsession with luxury. Romans were masters of indulgence, and their desire for extravagant living extended beyond food, drink, and clothing. Scent was a powerful symbol of wealth and status, and the ability to craft an exotic fragrance was seen as a mark of skill and refinement, a testament to the grandeur and extravagance of the time. Yet, as we've learned, this same obsession with luxury allowed deadly substances to be hidden in plain sight, masked by the beauty of fragrance. Another significant aspect of poison perfume is its association with secrecy. Unlike the more overt forms of violence that might draw attention, such as an assassination in the street or a public execution, perfumed poison allowed for quiet and inconspicuous acts of murder. By the time the victim began to feel the effects of the poison, it was often too late. The slow, almost imperceptible onset of the poison meant that death came like a whisper, unnoticed, and untraceable. This made it the ideal method for anyone in a position of power who wanted to eliminate a threat without creating a scandal or attracting suspicion. The association of poison perfume with secrecy underscores its strategic use in maintaining power and control. It's also worth considering how the practice of poison perfume was viewed by Roman society. On the one hand, the use of perfume was a mark of luxury, and anyone who could afford the finest perfumes was seen as part of the elite. On the other hand, the use of perfume as a tool of assassination raised profound questions about morality and ethics. Was it acceptable to use something as beautiful and luxurious as perfume to carry out a murder? Was it a sign of the emperor's power or a sign of how deeply corrupt and dangerous Roman society had become? These ethical dilemmas added a layer of complexity to the issue. Historians still debate the cultural impact of poison perfume. Some argue that it was simply another tool in the arsenal of Roman rulers, a symbol of their ability to control not just the lives of others but also their very perception of beauty and power. Others view it as a reflection of the moral decay that came with the excesses of Roman society, where luxury and opulence were often intertwined with brutality and violence. Regardless of how it is interpreted, the use of poison perfume played a significant role in shaping Roman political culture. It wasn't just about the act of assassination itself, it was about the message it sent. To use perfume in this way was to say, I control life and death. I control not just your body, but your senses, your perceptions, and your very existence. It was a power play, a demonstration of dominance that extended beyond the physical realm into the intangible world of scent, beauty, and luxury. In the next section, we'll explore the evolution of this practice in Roman society. How did it eventually fade, and what impact did it have on the cultural memory of ancient Rome? As we move toward the fall of the empire, we'll examine how the legacy of poisoned perfume continued to shape the way future generations viewed the Romans' relationship with power, luxury, and death. As we transition from the height of Rome's imperial grandeur to its eventual decline, we now turn our attention to how the legacy of poisoned perfume evolved within the broader context of the empire's fall. The political dynamics that relied so heavily on hidden methods of assassination, such as perfumed poison, didn't just vanish overnight. Instead, they left an indelible mark on Roman society, one that persisted through the ages, long after the empire itself crumbled. The practice of using poison, masked by the beauty of perfume, remained a symbol of the decadent, dangerous political world that existed during the reign of the Roman emperors. This narrative, with its layers of intrigue and fascination, continues to captivate us today. As the Roman Empire entered its later stages, its power began to wane. Emperors became increasingly paranoid and disconnected from the needs of their people. Corruption was rampant, and political intrigue was a constant undercurrent of Roman life. It was in this environment that perfumed poison, once a tool for the elite, became symbolic of the deepening moral decay of Roman society. The once celebrated art of perfume making, which had been linked to luxury and religious ritual, now represented a more sinister reality, a world where beauty was used to disguise treachery and where luxury concealed death. Historians still argue whether the use of poison perfume continued into the later years of the empire. While evidence is sparse, it's likely that as the empire's political structures became more unstable, the methods of political assassination became more discreet and more dangerous. The reliance on poison as a tool of power would have been an ideal way to eliminate rivals without drawing attention to oneself. By the time of the empire's decline, assassination had already become a normalized part of the political landscape, and perfumed poison may still have been used as a method to execute rivals or political enemies quietly. One of the most striking aspects of this period is the shift in cultural perception of perfume. Where once it had been a symbol of status, refinement, and religious significance, perfume was now seen as something more insidious. The very same ingredients that had once been associated with divinity and luxury now carried with them the weight of death, a transformation that profoundly altered the cultural landscape. The same luxury that the emperors once flaunted to demonstrate their divinely ordained power was now associated with betrayal and subterfuge, marking a profound cultural shift. With the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE, much of the sophistication of Roman culture was lost to the passage of time. However, the legacy of Rome's use of perfumed poison continued to echo through the centuries. As new empires rose and fell, the story of Rome's political intrigues, including its use of poison, became part of the broader mythos of the ancient world. The narrative of perfumed poison, a symbol of the decadent, dangerous politics of Rome, was passed down through the ages, influencing how future generations viewed the Romans and their methods of ruling. In medieval Europe, for example, assassinations and covert murders remained standard practices among the elite. Although the methods had evolved, more commonly through the use of daggers or the slow-acting poisons that became widespread in the Middle Ages, the idea of using poison as a means of control was very much alive. The medieval courts, much like the Roman Empire, were filled with intrigue and betrayal, and it's likely that the practice of poisoning one's enemies, in all its forms, drew inspiration from the Roman precedent. But the cultural memory of Rome's perfumed poison didn't just influence Europe. In the Middle East and parts of Asia, the use of poison was also seen as a subtle, almost refined way of eliminating rivals. As knowledge of perfume-making spread across the ancient world, so too did the understanding that beauty and death could be inextricably entwined. The continuity of poison use across different cultures underscores the universality of this historical narrative, making it a shared part of our global history. Even in the modern world, the allure of perfumed poison remains a captivating force. The idea of perfume as a weapon, hidden in something so beautiful and intoxicating, has become a powerful symbol in literature and film. From the mysterious potions in ancient myths to the femme fatale in modern thrillers, perfumed poison has remained a potent symbol of both seduction and danger. The legacy of Roman emperors, with their clever and subtle use of poison in the most luxurious forms, continues to influence how we view power, beauty, and death in our own culture. So, what happened to the practice of using perfumed poison? Did it completely disappear with the fall of Rome? In some ways, the answer is yes. The practice of poisoning through perfume became less common as new methods of assassination took root, especially as the political and social structures of the Roman Empire gave way to new systems of governance. However, the concept, of using something as seemingly innocent as perfume for something so sinister lived on in the imaginations of those who followed. In the next section, we'll reflect on the cultural significance of this legacy. How did the story of perfumed poison shape the way we understand ancient Rome today? And how has it influenced modern depictions of power, luxury, and assassination? As we close out this journey through the scented halls of ancient Rome, we'll examine the long-lasting effects that the use of poison, disguised as perfume, has had on the way history remembers the empire's rulers. As we approach the end of our exploration into the chilling world of poisoned perfume, it's time to reflect on its long-lasting cultural significance. How did the practice of perfumed poison shape the way we view ancient Rome today? And how has it influenced modern depictions of power, luxury, and assassination? As we conclude this journey through the scented halls of the Roman Empire, we'll explore how this story has transcended time, leaving a profound imprint on literature, cinema, and even our perceptions of beauty and danger. First, let's consider how perfumed poison has become ingrained in the collective imagination of Western culture. While the Roman Empire may have faded away centuries ago, its impact on storytelling and historical narratives remains. The use of poison, particularly in the form of something as elegant and luxurious as perfume, is a recurring theme in stories of power and treachery. For instance, in classic literature like Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile, historical dramas like The Borgias, or contemporary films like The Godfather, the concept of an assassination disguised as beauty remains a potent symbol of intrigue and betrayal. Think about some of the most famous stories in literature that feature poison as a key element. In Shakespeare's Hamlet, the treacherous act of poisoning is central to the plot, with the king's murder carried out through a poisoned cup, a simple, seemingly innocuous object, just as perfume seemed harmless to the Roman elite. In Romeo and Juliet, another one of Shakespeare's tragedies, poison is used to seal the lover's fate, demonstrating how even something as pure as love can be tainted by death, much like the Roman emperor's reliance on perfumed poison to maintain their grip on power. In modern cinema, the theme of poison and beauty remains a captivating one for audiences. Think of films like Kill Bill, where poisons are subtly used as instruments of vengeance and justice, or in spy thrillers such as the James Bond franchise, where poison has always been a go-to weapon for shadowy assassins and powerful villains. The idea that something as seemingly innocent as a scent or drink can conceal death has remained a constant throughout storytelling history, borrowing heavily from the Roman precedent. The allure of poison, masked in beauty, also shows up in modern depictions of women who use their charm and beauty to manipulate others. Femme fatale, a term used to describe seductive women who lead men into dangerous or compromising situations, often wield the power of seduction alongside the threat of death. These characters, like the legendary Cleopatra, who used her allure to gain power, remind us that the art of poisoned perfume, much like seduction itself, isn't just about the victim. It's about the one who holds the power to control and manipulate life and death. Now, let's step away from the fictional world for a moment and examine how the legacy of Roman perfumed poison influences our understanding of the ancient world. When we think of Rome today, we often picture its grandeur. Its temples, its Colosseum, its emperors, and their lavish feasts. However, behind that opulence lay a world of political violence, betrayal, and constant maneuvering. The use of poison, primarily through something as luxurious as perfume, serves as a stark reminder that power and beauty were often two sides of the same coin. For emperors like Nero and Caligula, perfume wasn't just a pleasant fragrance. It was a tool for maintaining control over life and death. What's even more fascinating is how this practice challenges our romanticized view of the ancient world. We often view the Romans as a society of high culture, philosophy, and military genius. But the darker side of their world, the secrecy, the assassination plots, and the manipulation of beauty for deadly ends, reminds us that the line between civilization and brutality was often thinner than we'd like to believe. Perfumed poison was just one example of how the Romans, for all their achievements, were capable of extraordinary cruelty and cunning. Historians continue to debate the prevalence of perfumed poison in Roman society. Some view it as an exaggerated element of Roman history, blown out of proportion by ancient writers who sought to sensationalize the power struggles of the emperors. Others, however, believe it was a common practice among the elite, an accepted and almost expected method of eliminating rivals. The debate centers on the interpretation of historical texts and archaeological evidence. While we may never know the full extent of its use, the very fact that it has been passed down through history as part of the Roman narrative speaks to its significance. In addition to its literary and cinematic legacy, the concept of poisoned perfume continues to resonate in contemporary culture, as we see the enduring fascination with ancient Roman history. With modern media and historical documentaries, the allure of ancient Rome is stronger than ever, and the story of poisoned perfume is part of what makes the empire so fascinating. We see it in the cultural memory of history, how power was often secured through the most subtle means, using the tools of beauty to achieve deadly ends. But the most crucial way that the legacy of perfumed poison lives on is in our own society's continued obsession with power, beauty, and control. The idea of using something as beautiful as perfume for something as deadly as assassination mirrors our modern fascination with the intersection of luxury and power. In today's world, luxury brands, high-end perfumes, and opulent lifestyles continue to be used to project power and status. The idea that something so innocent and alluring could conceal hidden dangers is a theme that continues to play out in both the public and private lives of the powerful, keeping us engaged and connected to this historical narrative. As we conclude our examination of the dark history of perfumed poison in ancient Rome, it becomes clear that this story isn't just about the past. It's about the enduring legacy of Rome's complex relationship with power, luxury, and death. From the emperors who wielded poisoned perfume as a means of control to the modern world that continues to romanticize and sensationalize these acts. The tale of perfumed poison reminds us that beauty and danger are often intertwined. This enduring legacy invites us to reflect on and contemplate the nature of power and its darker aspects. In the next section, we'll slow the pace and reflect on the broader philosophical implications of this history. What does it teach us about power and how it has been exercised throughout human history? How can we learn from these tales of political manipulation and intrigue to understand the nature of power and its darker sides? But for now, let the story of Rome's perfumed poison linger in your thoughts as we prepare to move on from one chapter of history to the next. As we approach the conclusion of our journey through the world of Roman emperors and their use of poisoned perfume, it's essential to pause and reflect on the broader lessons that this dark chapter of history teaches us. What does the practice of perfumed poison tell us about power and the lengths to which people will go to maintain it? And more importantly, how can we, as modern readers and history enthusiasts, critically analyze the enduring fascination with these stories in modern times? First, we must acknowledge the central role that power plays in shaping human history. The story of Rome is, at its heart, the story of individuals and systems vying for control, whether it be the emperors, their family members, or the powerful elites who navigated the dangerous political terrain. The use of poisoned perfume in ancient Rome was just one manifestation of this. Emperors and their courts had to find ways to protect themselves, eliminate rivals, and ensure their reign remained unchallenged. Power, it seemed, could be both overt and subtle. At times, it could be a physical force like a sword or a spear, and at other times, it could be something as seemingly benign as a perfume bottle. The way that poison was hidden in such an elegant, everyday object reveals just how far those in power were willing to go to manipulate their environment and control life and death. This is where the lasting fascination with Rome's perfumed poison lies. In a world where power can be asserted through violence, manipulation, or deceit, the subtlety of perfume as a weapon makes it all the more captivating. It speaks to the lengths people will go to gain and maintain control. The idea that something so beautiful and seemingly innocent, something that most people would associate with luxury and pleasure, could be weaponized is a stark reminder of the complexity of human nature. Beauty, allure, and power can coexist with danger, and it's in this intersection where the most compelling stories of manipulation and control are often found. There's also a philosophical question embedded in the story of poisoned perfume. To what extent can we trust appearances? In the case of the Roman emperors, the use of perfume was a way to create an illusion of luxury, opulence, and divine favor. The beautiful scents masked not only the emperor's power, but also the deadly games of intrigue and assassination happening behind closed doors. This deception is a universal theme, one that transcends time. Throughout history, leaders, rulers, and individuals in power have used appearance and symbolism to mask their true intentions. Whether it's the glittering allure of wealth, the charm of a charismatic leader, or the polished surface of a political movement, the surface often hides the true motivations that drive people's actions. The practice of using poison perfume also raises questions about morality. When power is attained through such covert means, through manipulation, deception, and death, how does that shape a society's values? In the case of ancient Rome, the rulers who relied on poisoned perfume saw it not just as a method of control, but as a necessary evil in a world where life was cheap and survival depended on staying one step ahead of one's enemies. In their eyes, it wasn't about morality, it was about maintaining power at any cost. However, the historical record leaves us with a lingering question. Was this practice a reflection of Roman society's inherent moral decay, or was it simply a product of the brutal, competitive world in which they lived? In modern times, the story of perfumed poison is no longer just about ancient Rome. It serves as a lens through which we can examine the nature of power and manipulation today. In an age where the line between appearance and reality has never been more blurred, the story of Rome's perfumed assassinations serves as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. Whether it's in politics, business, or personal relationships, the ability to manipulate perceptions and control narratives is just as potent today as it was in ancient Rome. The use of beauty, charm, and luxury to conceal darker intentions has continued to play out in the stories of power throughout history. What's even more intriguing is how the Roman obsession with luxury, embodied in the act of wearing and creating perfume, continues to resonate in modern culture. Today, perfume remains a symbol of elegance, refinement, and social status. Luxury fragrance brands have become a multi-billion-dollar industry, and many of us still associate certain scents with wealth, success, and power. The irony is that, just like in ancient Rome, perfume is still used to project a particular image, whether it's in advertising or our daily lives. But unlike in Roman times, when perfume could conceal poison, today's perfumes mask only the natural scent of the body, not the deadly intentions of the person who wears them. However, the symbolism of power, beauty, and control persists, reflecting on the stories of emperors like Nero and Caligula, who used poisoned perfume as a tool for political survival. We, as readers, can't help but be struck by how much power is still manipulated through subtle means. We live in a world where appearances matter more than ever, where the surface is often more important than the substance. Just as the Roman elite used perfume to craft an image of divine favor and luxury, modern society usually uses images, symbols, and messages to create powerful personas. The political, social, and cultural forces that shape our perceptions are still usually just as hidden behind beautiful facades as they were in ancient Rome. As we draw this journey through the perfumed halls of ancient Rome to a close, we're left with an understanding that the story of poison perfume is more than just a tale of political intrigue. It's a story of human nature, of power, and of how beauty can both conceal and reveal the truth. It reminds us that in every era, whether ancient or modern, the desire for power, control, and survival remains a driving force. The ancient Roman emperors may have used poison as a tool, but the human impulses behind these actions have endured throughout history. Now, as you begin to drift into a restful sleep, think about the complex, hidden world of Roman power and the legacy it left behind. With each breath you take, imagine the soft fragrance of the past lingering in the air, masking both the beauty and the danger of those who once ruled the world. Now that we've reflected on the broader implications of perfumed poison, it's time to slow down and take a step back. Let's consider how this story fits into the larger arc of Roman history, how it fits into the tapestry of power and death that defined the empire, and what it ultimately teaches us about human nature. As we think about the history of perfumed poison, we have to ask ourselves, why are we still so fascinated by it? Why does the idea of using something so beautiful and luxurious for something so dark and sinister continue to captivate our imagination? The answer lies in the inherent paradox it presents. Beauty and danger, pleasure and death. These contradictions have always been a powerful part of storytelling. The allure of perfume, which was meant to elevate and seduce, becomes something far darker when it is tied to death and treachery. This paradox taps into a part of human nature that is simultaneously drawn to beauty and wary of it, a fascination with the interplay of power and aesthetics that has endured throughout history. The Romans, for all their advancements in art, philosophy, and warfare, were also profoundly aware of the fragility of power. The very nature of their society, with its complex political structures and constant power struggles, required leaders, emperors, senators, and military commanders to constantly assert their authority and eliminate potential threats. In such a ruthless environment, perfumed poison became a subtle yet effective means of control. It wasn't just about murder, it was about sending a message. To wield poison in such a delicate, refined way was a demonstration of ultimate power, a statement that even the most beautiful things in life could be used to destroy. The The very act of using perfume as a tool of assassination was both an expression of grandeur and a quiet, deadly force. It was not just a violent weapon. It was a refined, seemingly harmless gift, one that carried a hidden danger beneath its intoxicating scent. This subtlety is what makes the practice of perfumed poison so fascinating, as it taps into a part of human nature that is simultaneously drawn to beauty and wary of it. The story of Rome's perfumed assassination speaks to the darker side of human ambition, the lengths we will go to preserve our power, even if it means cloaking our actions in luxury and deceit. Now, stepping outside the Roman context for a moment, let's consider how the idea of poison perfume influences our understanding of history and the concept of power. The imagery of perfume as a weapon speaks to a more profound truth about the human condition. We are often drawn to beauty, but we are just as wary of it. In the case of perfume, what could be more innocent and pleasant than the scent of flowers, fruits, or spices? Yet, when that scent is tied to something deadly, it forces us to reconsider our perceptions. It makes us realize that nothing, not even the most beautiful things in life, is entirely free of danger. It's this complexity that makes the story of Roman's poisoned perfume all the more intriguing. Power, beauty, and death are intricately woven together in a way that is both fascinating and unsettling. And it's not just the Romans who understood this. Throughout history, cultures have employed beauty, art, and luxury as means to conceal darker motives. In a sense, the story of Rome's perfumed poison is not just a relic of the past. It's a reflection of how we still grapple with the tension between appearance and reality, between surface beauty and hidden menace. As we reflect on these ideas, we must also consider what it means to live in a world where power is often concealed behind layers of beauty and luxury. The Roman emperors used perfume to assert their power in a world where every gesture and every action was a message. However, in modern times, this dynamic continues to play out in various forms. Whether it's the media, politics, or even the entertainment industry, the surface of things often hides the true intentions and motivations beneath. Just like the emperors, modern power structures are built on maintaining an illusion, one that keeps us captivated, even as the real power struggles continue behind the scenes. However, there's a more personal level to this as well. In our own lives, we often encounter situations where things aren't as they seem. The story of the poisoned perfume can serve as a reminder to look beyond appearances and question what lies beneath the surface. It's easy to be seduced by beauty, by charm, by luxury, but it's essential to ask ourselves, what is being hidden? What does the perfume mask? This doesn't mean we should live in fear or suspicion, but it's a call for awareness, to live with our eyes open, and to understand that what we see is often only part of the story. This awareness empowers us to navigate a world where power is usually concealed behind layers of beauty and luxury. In the modern world, luxury brands, high-end perfumes, and opulent lifestyles continue to be used to project power and status. The idea that something so innocent and alluring could conceal hidden dangers is a theme that continues to play out in the stories of power throughout history. But unlike in Roman times, where perfume could conceal poison, today's perfumes mask only the natural scent of the body, not the deadly intentions of the person who wears them. However, the symbolism of power, beauty, and control persists, reminding us that the interplay of power and aesthetics is not just a relic of the past, but a dynamic that continues to shape our world today. Reflecting on the stories of emperors like Nero and Caligula, who used poisoned perfume as a tool for political survival, we can't help but be struck by how much power is still manipulated through subtle means. We live in a world where the line between appearance and reality has never been more blurred. In this world, leaders and figures of influence often rely on charm, elegance, and allure to maintain their power, much like the Roman emperors did centuries ago. The surface is usually more important than the substance, and power is frequently concealed behind a facade of beauty. As we conclude this journey through the perfumed halls of ancient Rome, we're left with a profound understanding that the story of poison perfume is more than just a tale of political intrigue. It's a story of human nature, of power, and of how beauty can both conceal and reveal the truth. It reminds us that in every era, whether ancient or modern, the desire for power, control, and survival remains a driving force. The ancient Roman emperors may have used poison as a tool, but the enduring human impulses behind these actions have shaped history. Now, as you begin to drift into a restful sleep, think about the complex, hidden world of Roman power and the legacy it left behind. With each breath you take, imagine the soft fragrance of the past lingering in the air, masking both the beauty and the danger of those who once ruled the world.